All right. Welcome to the chat, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We'll wait for a couple people to bounce on in here. Yeah, before we get started here we got a good one for you today. I think we got a gentleman named Rand Taylor. He's from the Fuel Ox Company, and he's going to teach us all about fuel additives, antigel. We're gonna get way into it today. So thanks for joining us, and maybe we can get some questions in at the end here, and go from there. Now, I've been using these products for about 3 years, and the reason I talk about it, I like to use a product for a good long time before I give results on it or talk about it, because you got to have that time trial there to make this happen and see if things really work, see if they're cost effective, or it's just you dumped it in your tank and you get the placebo effect because you really want it to work. Are you wishing it into working, or does it really work? So like I said, I like to do that. So let's bring Rand Taylor in here from Fuel Ox, and he's going to teach us all about the science of additives. We're going to talk about antigel. We're going to talk about all you've heard of asphaltene in the trucking industry now. We're going to talk about that too. So let's bring him in. I got to unmute his microphone. All right, I think I got you off mute now. All right, thanks Rand for coming in today. CEO and co-founder of the Fuel Ox Company. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, how it started, and lay it all out?
Sure. Thanks for having us. This is exciting. We're happy to be here on a Sunday afternoon.
Let me just interject here quick before we go too far. I asked Rand to come on my show. They did not approach me. I invited them on because I've been using the product and I like it. And I'm going to show some products today, and I paid for all of them with my own money. The only thing that they sent to me was a new product here, this grease, to try it out, and I have not quite gotten to that yet, but we will. And I got a t-shirt. So I just wanted to fully disclose that I invited you. Okay, so go ahead. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification. Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Rand Taylor. I'm the co-founder of Fuel Ox. My son and I, Alec, started the company about 7 years ago. And what happened is that about a year before that, a very good friend of mine had come to me, knowing that I had started a number of other industry companies, and asked if I would help him market to the general public fuel additives that up until that point, for the 20 or 25 years prior to that, had been sold only to the U.S. military. Family business, background in chemistry. His uncle started the company, and they had been, like I said, they have been supplying really just the U.S. military up to that point. I explained to him that I really had nothing to do with fuel additives or trucking or anything like that, but that send me some product. I do have friends that own trucking companies. I gave that to them. They all came back and said, "Where did you get this? This is the best stuff." At that point, that's kind of when Fuel Ox was born. And since that point, we've been, really, the way we have decided to build this company over the last 7 years has been from the ground floor up, grassroots, putting it in people's hands, having them try it, having them use it, having them experience it, and then having them give us referral. We have never spent a ton of money on advertising. You might see a little bit more of that in the future, since we have been fortunate enough to grow pretty dramatically in the last few years. And that all has to do with the fact that our products, I think, are far superior to everything else out there. But again, it's a totally different animal than what you're going to get on the shelf anywhere else, and it's all military based in its background.
Yeah, I like that. It's like the great American story. You built it from the ground up. It's yours, and people got to realize sometimes the best products out there are ones you've never heard of. Everybody started somewhere. Word of mouth will really help spread things. And a lot of products out there are great. You just haven't heard of them. And people don't realize what it takes to get into these massive chains like truck stops and stuff. In some places, you have to buy shelf space. You can't, you know what I'm saying, right? You can't just put your product on somebody's shelf and they sell it and you make money. you gotta buy shelf space. You got to buy positions on shelf space, and it can be really expensive. And plus, then you got to compete, and hopefully the truck stop promotes your product and doesn't relegate it to a third row down from the floor product that nobody can see or buy. Everybody, if you wouldn't mind, share this video out. We're going to put out a lot of information here today that I'd like people to hear, and you can make your own decision, and hopefully you'll decide to give it a try.
Yeah, we're very grateful for the opportunity to get the word out a little bit, because you're 100% correct. It's getting the word out when you're a small company, regardless of how good your product is. You need to be able to get the word out. And
Right.
I'll just share with you that I've heard 1,000 times since we started this. Well, if your stuff is so good, why isn't it everywhere? Well, simply put, it doesn't matter how good something is. If you can't get the word out and get people to try it, no one knows. You need to know. People need to get the information about any product. And if they're not getting that information, then they're totally ignorant to it. They don't even know it exists. The vast majority of the people, my guess is that you're going to have on here today, probably have never even heard of our product.
Right. I came across it by accident. To tell you the truth, I was looking online for different antigels, and just by accident, I found your website, and I checked it out, and I'm like, I think they got something here. So I tried it, and I got two of my other friends to try it, and they absolutely love it. Good results from it. And people got to realize too that some companies don't care about making good product. They care about raising millions of dollars for marketing. Uh, a gentleman named Forrest is never coming on my YouTube channel because he just wants to sell product. He doesn't want to educate users as to why they should use it or talk about the science behind it. So we really appreciate you doing this today, and hopefully we get you some good results here. Now, I think probably you would agree maybe your flagship product is this FuelOx OTR. Am I correct? Is that
That's
probably
correct.
Okay? So can we talk about this a little bit and what it is, and kind of like what's the difference between this as a catalyst and maybe your typical fuel additive or your quote lubricity agent? What's the difference? What do they do? What's like the competitor to this?
Okay, so that product right there will compare with pretty much all your basics that you see on the shelf anywhere. Diesel fuel additives, diesel conditioners, whatever the case may be. The biggest difference between our product and everybody else out there is we're the only ones that actually, I should say we're the only ones. We're one of the very few that offer a combustion catalyst. Okay. And that catalyst, diesel will usually combust around 900 degrees. We'll actually get diesel to combust around 600.
Oh wow!
And by doing that, you end up burning more of the fuel, getting more power, better fuel efficiency, usually in that 5 to 10% range.
Okay.
But in the meantime, it also is a more thorough burn. It's a cleaner burn. So we cut the diesel particulate matter down by over 50%. And what that means for anybody with a diesel particulate filter is it doesn't fill up as quickly, so therefore you don't regen as often. Also, your EGR stay a lot cleaner. So it's and we cut the CO2 down by about 20% and the NOx fumes by about 10%.
Okay.
So but the reason why we're able to do that, and you showed this bottle, that's the 16-ounce bottle that treats 1,250 gallons.
Right.
And whereas almost everything else out there is a quart treats 100 gallons or something like that. This 16-ounce bottle treats 1,250 gallons. And the reason why is because we don't have all the fillers in there that everyone else does. Okay. So we don't have to carry it with glycol ether and other types of cetane booster type chemicals, because we already are improving your combustion.
Okay. Now, I guess kind of the elephant in the room is obviously this being a catalyst. Probably its most direct competitor would be Pittsburgh Power Max Mileage, correct?
Probably, yeah, probably.
Okay.
So.
Now, a gallon of that will treat 3,200 gallons. A gallon of this will treat 10,000 gallons.
Correct.
So there's also quite a bit of additional cost savings that can go along with your product because, like you said, you cut out the fillers and stuff like that, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, if you look at their product, I think they advertise online for it's about $700 a gallon, or excuse me, about $700 to treat 10,000 gallons. You know,
Oh, wow.
and ours is about 550 or something like 560 to online. Now, in a bulk situation where if you have a company out there that treats a 5 or 10,000 gallon tank, and orders in bulk from us, that number drops pretty precipitously.
Okay.
So we can work with the bulk, and make it, somewhere in the cost range of 3 to 4 cents a gallon.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
That's pretty substantial.
it is.
And
Very
also,
simple.
yeah, and also on the screen here, I just posted the phone number, the website, fuelox.com. And they're offering today for doing this here, anybody that wants to try it out, 15% off your first order. If you would use the promo code DIY Semi. It's not case sensitive, but it is all one word. So, definitely take a look at their website. If nothing else, you're going to learn an awful lot about the different things in the fuel additive industry. So,
Adam, let me add real quick too that we have a couple of specials there for first-time buyers.
Okay.
That they can get a sample of it, but we have a T-shirt lock, thrown into it, and a couple different packages that are kind of fun that give you a discount on the product, but also gives you a shirt. I don't know if we have a hat or something like that, but we do have packages already set that guys, if they want to try it, by all means, we'd love to have you try it.
Okay. Excellent. And then kind of the reason for the season here is antigel. So let me just show you here. This is their standard size bottle. It's called Cold Charge OTR of antigel. Okay. Fits like this, 3 ounces. This or this monster here. Which one do you want to carry in your truck? Now this one will say it treats 320 gallons, but once you read the label and figure what temperature you're at, you're going to need to use this whole thing on a fill up anyway. And what I do is I got an ammo can in my truck, and I just throw 1 case of this in there, about 30 bottles, and generally that gets me almost through the whole winter. No mess, takes up a lot less space. I really like that. Tell us about the Cold Charge OTR product for an antigel.
We think that is one of our real sleepers because we've done absolutely no production, no promotion at all for the product. And a 3 ounce bottle that compares with the quart bottles or bigger that you see in all the truck stops, and just from ease of use is a fantastic improvement. But really, what people don't know about that blue bottle you just held up is that has all the good stuff in it that our normal Fuelox has. So it has the catalyst in it. So you're getting all the benefits of the catalyst on top of the actual pour point suppressant.
Oh wow! So full dose of OTR as well as the antigel. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Now I think you have the freeze guard, the little freeze guard bottle.
Little freeze guard here.
The freeze guard bottle doesn't have the catalyst in it.
But I noticed that'll go way down lower in temperature.
Way down lower in temperature. That's like if you want that'll get you usually over 40 degrees of cold filter plugging point, not pour point, but cold filter plugging point. Okay, pour point probably 10 or 15 degrees more than that.
Okay, so as long as we're on that topic, can you kind of explain the difference between pour point, cold filter plug point, waxing point, things along those lines? What's the difference between these two, and where do we really start to get in trouble?
Where you start to get in trouble is as fuel gets colder, then it'll hit the first thing you'll see it start to get a little milky. Okay. And then what'll happen then, it'll start to, that'll start to congeal more and more. And at the point that it gets so thick that it won't go through a 40 micron size opening in a fuel filter. Right. Okay. That's your cold filter plugging point.
Okay.
That, and generally for most untreated fuel, that's somewhere in the Northeast here, it's usually somewhere in the 5 to 0, 5 degrees to 0, some maybe 10 degrees, 10 to 0, depending on the fuel. All fuels
for just blended fuel. We're talking about straight blended fuel.
The straight blended fuel, no additives in it, right? Okay. And what this will do, we'll get you about 25 to 30 degrees more with the OTR, with the cold charge OTR.
The cold charge says It lowers cold filter plug point by 33 degrees. So
Right.
that's pretty substantial.
Yep.
Now, the freeze guard says it lowers cold filter plug point by 47 degrees.
Right.
That's damn cold right there. I'll tell you what.
That's an insane product. That's
Yeah.
and that's a product that no one else, I believe, could compete with.
I'm trying to see what these. Oh, okay. They don't even say what their cold filter plug point reduction is here with this, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not using it anyway. So yeah, I use this. I live in Wisconsin. It's damn cold here, you know, and I run around cold weather, the Dakotas, blah blah blah. If you have 100-gallon tanks, you know, if your average fill up is 120 gallons, this treats 120 gallons. You just dump half of it in each tank. Really cold days, or if you're going to park your truck for a while and let it sit out in the cold, you know, the freeze guard is what you want. If you got bigger tanks like 120s, well, you dump a bottle in each tank, and it's still cheaper than this, and you're treated down colder.
And you get all the benefits of the having the catalyst in there too, which you're not going to get.
Exactly. Okay. So anything else about the, you know, gelling winter driving that we should know?
Well, I mean, it's just you have the fuel. The biggest thing is that the fuel is very different wherever you pick it up.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's coming up through the pipeline most of the time. At least up here in the Northeast, it does. Midwest has a lot of pipelines carrying fuel there too, and you just never know what you're getting. Is what it comes down to. So some places you go treat the fuel in the wintertime. You know, some places don't.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is be aware of what kind of fuel you're getting.
Right.
In the meantime, if you want to have the insurance of making sure you're not going to have an issue, then that's where we come into play.
Okay. What about, how does biodiesel play into that? What are some, you know, I understand biodiesel can hold more water. Do we need to treat it differently? Do we need to treat it stronger? What are some problems that biodiesel plays in, like gelling and waxing and plugging and all that?
Well, first of all, you kind of touched on it. Biodiesel carries about 10 times the amount of water that diesel carries, and diesel carries water. Okay, a lot of people don't recognize that, but there is a small amount of water in all diesel.
Right.
Biofuel will carry 10 times the amount.
Okay? Really?
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing too: is that most states allow the fuel distributors to put up to 5% biodiesel in without even telling you. So you could have 5% biodiesel in, and most guys actually do probably have about 5% biodiesel. When they pick up regular diesel, it's actually 5% bio. Okay.
Wow.
So now what happens is because there's so much more water in there, okay, it tends to raise the point at which the fuel starts to gel.
Okay.
That cloud point we talked about is when it starts to get milky, right? Actually, when you put bio in there, it's going to raise the cloud point a certain amount, depending on the fuel.
Okay.
So it just makes it much more, it's normal for it to gel up earlier, you know.
Okay.
The other thing about biodiesel too, in a non-winter sense, is that if you remember, because there's so much more water in it, that it also is more susceptible to growing bacteria in it.
Yes.
Okay. So particularly in the summertime when it's nice and warm, you know, you get a little condensation in there, and with bio, stuff tends to grow in it quicker than it is with regular diesel fuel.
I wish I had thought about this about 2 months ago. I had a video where I got the worst fuel ever at a truck stop, and it had tons of water in it. It was growing microbials in it, and I didn't think to use the fuel ox. I didn't think of that in relation to water, so I grabbed this other stuff, and eventually I got rid of it. So I didn't really know that your product addresses water. Can you talk about that? What does it do to water?
We're a demulsifier for the water, so we'll take the water out and put it in your separators. Okay. That generally, or if the tank sits for a long period of time, we'll separate on a holding tank. We'll take the water and separate it at the bottom of the tank. Okay. So yeah, eventually you will have to take the water out of the bottom of the tank. But the one thing we'll never do is we won't allow the water to ever go through your injectors or to be passed through your engine in any way, shape, or form. And we also create a barrier between the water and the diesel itself. So nothing's going to grow, because it's at that point where the water meets the diesel in the holding tanks where you get your microbial growth. Okay? And what we do is because it's the catalyst actually acts much along the lines of copper flashing on the bottom of the boat, where nothing's going to grow on it. It does the same thing with your fuel. So while we are not technically a pesticide of any way, shape, or form, I want to make that very clear. We are not a pesticide. We do have an excellent effect on the fuel itself when it comes to microbial.
So it's kind of a chemical, makes like a chemical barrier that microbials can't do what they do
That's correct.
when interacting with the water. They can't, like the microbials need the water to grow, and Fuel Ox kind of prevents that from happening.
Yeah, they need the water to grow, and they need the irons and so forth out of the fuel to live off of.
Okay.
So that's that symbiotic relationship of bacteria and microbials and other types of molds and things like that.
Interesting. So if you get a microbial infection or some kind of something alive in your tanks, how do you get rid of that? Do you have a product to address that, or just using the regular product, or what do you do about it?
Well, as of now, our regular product, if they just double dose it, if they already have a problem, if they double dose our regular product, it'll take care of most situations.
Okay.
It'll help alleviate most situations.
Okay. Something I forgot to ask too. We're talking about this kind of in relation to trucking. Can we use this in gasoline too?
Yeah, this works in any hydrocarbon-based fuel. One of the things about making it for the military, the way I was told in its early forms, was that they had about 8 or 9 different grades of fuel that they wanted one additive to work with. Okay. And this additive is designed to work with any hydrocarbon-based fuel, gas, diesel, kero, jet.
Bunker fuel.
Exactly.
Kerosene, heating oil.
Correct.
Now, obviously, we're talking mostly about trucking here today and applications in trucking, but you do have different products for, say, like a heating oil tanks that are just sit in bulk and sit stationary without being agitated. But we're mostly in the trucking business here today, so we're mostly talking about just trucking. But there's many products for different applications. We just can't possibly cover them all here today. So also to do with winter, you hear a lot of time people say, well, buy mix some straight number 1 fuel in your tanks, put a little kerosene in there. Now kerosene, there's obviously positives and negatives of it. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I will tell you this, that the kerosene, let's back up. The fuel additives, I think as a rule, the industry has gotten much better in the last 10 or 15 years. Okay. And I think that with the low sulfur fuel, that we're getting now, you don't have the higher gel points that you used to have. They're a little bit lower than they used to be. Just basic fuel. But on the other hand, with the additives now, the additives are so effective that the need to actually cut it with a kerosene is not what it used to be. And then on top of that, you factor in the fact that the winters are warmer than they have been. A lot of guys, I'm seeing a lot of people that used to always cut with kerosene, just getting away from it completely. Now, given the fact kerosene costs so much more, that's a big factor too. That's a huge factor. You can literally treat your, if you're going to treat your, if you're going to go say a 60-40 blend of kerosene, that's going to end up costing you 30, 40, 50 cents more a gallon, on a blended basis, So the other thing, and then if you treat it with a good antigel like ours, your cost is 5 or 6 cents.
Okay.
So it's a huge advantage to be treating your fuel with a top-notch additive, as opposed to the old school mixing it with kerosene.
Okay. Now I was kind of told too that 2 things: potentially kerosene has some downsides that could potentially maybe do some damage, and 2, that even if you mix like a 70-30 blend, that you're really only gaining 3 degrees in temperature. Is that close to being correct?
I think it's like 3 degrees for every 10% or something like that. So maybe it's 9. Maybe you're getting 9 degrees, 3 degrees, something in that range. It's not a huge amount.
No, it's not what I would expect.
Yeah, but what you did touch on, which is important, is that kerosene is much drier. Okay, it's a much drier fuel. So you're already with a low sulfur diesel, is already dry, which is why they add lubricity agents in at the rack. Okay. When the fuel gets pumped up here, it's generally not, it's already lacking in lubricity. So lubricity is the first thing they put in. So on top of it, now you're talking about using the kerosene, which has even less lubricity than your normal diesel. Okay, that's much more of an issue. When you talk about danger to your engines by using kerosene,
Okay.
that's really what they're talking about.
Okay. Is there a different combustion point when you're using kerosene too, I imagine?
I don't know if there is or not. To be honest with you, I'm not going to say there is because I don't think there is, but I really don't know.
Okay. All right.
But you do
Um,
kerosene has a lot less in the way of BTUs in it as well. So
right.
when you use kerosene, your miles per gallon are going to drop.
Right. Something I kind of glanced over here is the size of these bottles. I mean, okay, how do you get it so concentrated? Do you have fairy dust in here? What is it that makes this do the same job as this? I mean, are they putting fillers in here? Are these fillers harmful? What's the difference here?
Well, you know
This
what?
is it's almost hard to believe, really.
It really is all chemicals. I mean,
Okay.
it's all the type, and it's the type of chemicals you use. And we literally have stuff that we use in our antigel that it's a teaspoon for a 55-gallon drum, and it costs a fortune. Okay,
Really?
but no one else is going to use something like that. It's a like I said, we cut our teeth making stuff for the U.S. military. So the products we make for them are off the chart. Good thing is I can bring it at a reasonable price to the general public because I have no middleman. Okay.
Right.
So it comes directly to us. We do all the repackaging here. So, but in the meantime, what we use is highly concentrated. Most of what's in that big bottle is a filler or a carrier, and it's while it's performing some sort of task, it's not really needed for what we need it to do.
Okay.
So, for instance, most fuel additives have have glycol ether in there or something similar that acts as a cetane booster. Okay,
Okay.
don't need that, and that's their number one. And by the way, that's the number one ingredient. So it may
Okay.
take up 60% of the bottle.
You'd say glycol ether. Are we getting back into another drier? I mean, ether dissolves oil. I
Yeah,
mean, is it another dry product?
it's a dry product and it attracts water. You know, anything
Okay.
anything that's ether based is going to attract water. You know,
Okay. Now,
um,
this just kind of understand this in my mind. You said that some products, a teaspoon will treat 55 gallons. This is very concentrated. So I understand from another something else that I'm into about bunching of hydrocarbons and how you can prevent that from happening. So this is such a small amount. I can't imagine that it's all a chemical reaction. Are you kind of getting into something like a positively and negatively charges to prevent hydrocarbon bunching?
you know something. The answer I'm told is yes from my laboratory, but
Okay.
I'm the wrong guy to explain how it works.
I bet
You
you
know?
never expected a question like that, did you?
It's fair. It's fair enough. It's a great question, and I'll try to get you an answer from the lab that's
Okay.
more substantial than that.
Okay.
But yes, I have been told that there is something along those lines going on.
Yeah, well, I'll get into more. We're getting some really good questions here in the comments. Maybe if we get to a little bit of time, we can address some of them. But
Sure.
yeah, we'll talk more about that hydrocarbon bunching at a later point. I got some interesting stuff on that. But um, so where did we leave off here? Okay. Any other cold weather related issues or steps that a person can take to kind of address, gelling and waxing and stuff like that?
So the first thing I would do is once it starts turning cold, you know, change your filters.
Okay.
Change your filters, or if you can purge your filters or something. Because the biggest problem I see is guys who complain. For instance, I'll have a fleet of maybe heavy equipment or something like that, and they'll come to me and they'll say, "Oh, I have a problem with gelling. It was down to -3 last night." And I'll say, "Well, was your whole fleet?" "No, it's only two machines." "Well, when's the last time you checked the filters?" "Oh, we don't know." The filters are loaded up with water from the summertime, and that's the first thing that's going to freeze. And there's nothing.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much you treat your fuel. If your
Right.
filters have water sitting in them when it gets cold, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
simple stuff like that.
And something too we skipped over here with gelling, if you get to the point where you are gelled, then we're talking about this heat bomb, and
Correct.
that would be, something like this, much more affordable right here, and a better product. But can you talk a little bit about this and how this works?
Yeah, I mean that's that's another thing too. Is I run across guys all the time who will take the 911 and they'll say, "Oh, it's going to be cold tonight," so they'll put it in their tanks. Well, 911 is all these the 911 and heat bomb are both what I refer to as that those are products that are once the damage is done, you got to clean it up. You don't want to be putting those products in before, because both of them are very dry. They're a very dry product. Okay. And they're designed to break down the gelling, and the waxing that takes place, and the ice that's formed in there. And they're designed to dissipate that in very cold fuel. Okay. Very different than every other anti-gel. Anti-gels, as a rule, are not designed to fix things that have already happened. They're designed to prevent them from happening. So they affect your they treat your fuel to keep it from happening. Okay, those two products you just showed there, the heat bomb product is designed to fix it once it's already taken place. And it's like anything else. Take the filter off, pour some in there, switch it around, put the filter back on, dump the rest in the tank, wait about 15 or 20 minutes, and you ought to be able to start the truck.
Yeah, and once again, this bottle is 16 ounces. This bottle is 32 ounces. But yet this one treats more. This one treats 120 gallons at 16 ounces. This one treats 100 gallons at 32 ounces, but yet this one still costs less. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer, Well,
again, we can do that because we don't have the infrastructure that all the big boys have.
Right.
This is you're looking at. We have our facility here in New Jersey, that we repackage everything out of, and we're a family-run business. We're lean and we're mean. And we're really committed to having the absolute best in every product that we could carry. We don't carry stuff that's just middle of the road, as a rule. We have a couple things that we do carry for the, more of the commercial side, which is not, we do that because frankly a lot of our clients have asked us to do it. So, but on the other hand, most of what we have is very, and again, anything we bring on in the future, we'll have that as well. It's going to be extremely concentrated and extremely high quality.
Okay. We talked a little bit about you have a laboratory that does this testing stuff. Is any of that testing available to the public, or can you talk a little bit about what you do? Is it ASTM testing, level testing, or?
We use different independent laboratories to do most of our testing.
Okay.
So we could share anything that anybody wanted. We do a lot of ASTM D97. We've done the ASTM D975 with Energy. We've done all our lubricity testing and a lot of our other our cold filter plugging point testing, all that with another local lab here in the New York City area, NMK Labs. And we've used Clark Labs in the past out in the Pittsburgh area. And we've used Intertech. We did our biggest emissions testing. We did it with Intertech. So yeah, we're happy to share all that. And we're not, we don't. Some of it we put on the website. Some of it we don't. Oh, and then we have hundreds and hundreds of independent fuel efficiency tests that have been done by our clients. We have a form that we actually give them if they want to test it themselves, where they can run it for 2 weeks without our product, then run it for 2 weeks with the product, and we just compare them side by side. How much fuel efficiency and regens and so forth. We just finished a big test with a large nationwide busing company, which was just, frankly, it blew their doors off. So at some point I'll be able to share that. I can't yet, but in the meantime, we do that. We have hundreds of those.
Did you do anything as fancy as take some diesel fuel and pour it in mason jars and stick it in your wife's freezer on top of her pies?
No, but I have seen someone that's done that.
Because I did that. I have a video on that. Boy, was that so interesting question for you. I don't know if you're the right one to ask. Okay, I did that. Okay, I took 14 different antigels. Okay, And it was kind of a bad video because I was new, whatever. But I took 14 different antigels. I put fuel in a mason jar. I measured everything out, and then I dosed them according to the label instructions. So they were properly dosed. Okay, I took measuring teaspoons and dosed them properly. Put them in a 25-degree below zero freezer, chest freezer, and I pulled them out. Okay, I let them sit in there not quite 2 days. Now, the jar of plain diesel that was not treated with antigel, I put a control jar in there, outperformed 12 out of the 14 antigels that I put in the freezer. Okay, your product, and then we'll throw names out here. The Motor Coat antigel, your product and theirs did very well. Theirs is ridiculously expensive. Let me say that. But what is it? Can some antigels actually cause more harm than good? What do you suppose caused that to happen? I mean, I had waxing in the bottom of the jar, 3 inches up the jar.
Yeah.
12 of these products. The Fuel Ox had none. The control jar had none, and the Motor Coat only had a little bit.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have not experienced that myself personally.
Okay.
But I saw your test that you did, and when I saw the control jar, I was like, you had me scratching my head.
Okay.
But I never would have expected that.
No, and obviously it's not scientific, but I mean it's as close to the real world as if I would have taken the jars and set them outside in 25 below zero, and I rotated the jars, so they all got the same exposure to the cold and whatever, and it kind of baffled me. I don't know why that happened. And real world, obviously, if you treat fuel strong enough with just about anything, it's going to keep it. If you triple dose it, it's going to do a good job. But that kind of made me think, okay, what are we doing here? Could we be doing more harm than good with some different products? And how is a guy really going to know? Because if you read the label on some of these jars, they promise you everything from your dog's going to come back home to your dead grandmother's going to come back alive. And how do you know unless you do something? That's obviously not a scientific test, but it's something. Do you encourage people to try things for themselves, or anything you want to say about that?
Oh, I always encourage people to try things.
Okay.
I always encourage them to really evaluate for themselves and don't take anybody's word for anything.
Right.
Don't take my word for it. Right. We've built our entire clientele on people who didn't know who the hell we were. Right. And therefore, the only way they would be comfortable is if they actually tried it themselves and got comfortable with it themselves.
Right.
That's really our entire clientele of people like that. So I didn't have a name brand to fall back on. We've been building our name brand for 7 years, and we'll continue to do so. So okay. I strongly recommend people to try things for themselves and try to be as objective as they can, and don't take anybody's word for anything.
Yeah, I did something similar. This is another question that's probably not the right guy here, but with these two products, tried to get the fuel to gel up a little bit, and then I treated them with these and put them back in the freezer. Now, the bottle with the 911 developed a layer of water on top of the fuel that froze into a thin layer of ice. I don't know why that happened. Water is heavier than fuel. Water should sink to the bottom. Do you think it was the product itself maybe that rose to the top? Maybe it didn't blend in. I mean, I did mix them, but something caused the water to rise to the top of the jar and freeze. That's exactly the opposite of what a product like that should do.
Well, that product right there is not going to freeze.
Right.
It won't. The product itself won't freeze.
Okay.
So to answer your question, I don't know why that happened.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I'm not a chemist.
Right. It came to my mind when we were talking about this, so I thought I'd throw it out there. Now, what everybody is probably going to want to know with today's trucks, let's talk about emissions-related problems. Some of the different products, obviously, probably the product for that is the Fuel Ox OTR as far as the catalyst. What does it do to emission systems? How can it help? You talked about combustion temperature and NOx. Can you kind of break that whole scenario down a little bit?
Sure. Well, first of all, by getting the fuel to combust more thoroughly, as I mentioned earlier, you're gonna end up with less emission, less soot emissions. Okay, right. Because that's just unburnt fuel. So we'll cut the soot emissions down by over 50% on average. In the meantime, what's really interesting about this product is that if you ask someone in the industry who is familiar with, typical, combustion issues and conventional additives, they'll say it's impossible to decrease your soot and also decrease your NOx fumes. And the reason why is because the hotter the combustion, the less soot you're going to create because you're burning more of the fuel.
Okay.
But the hotter the combustion, the more NOx fumes you're going to create. So there's an inverse relationship between NOx and soot. Okay, and NOx is what your DEF fluid is eliminating.
Right.
So your DEF fluid combines with the NOx coming out, and it dripples out the bottom as harmless water. Okay, but NOx fumes are really they're the most dangerous greenhouse gas there is. So that's why they're trying to get rid of this. But in the meantime, what we do is because we actually begin the combustion at a lower temperature, we actually have the ability to not only lower the soot, but also lower the NOx about 10% as well, which is, like I said, almost an oxymoron, but it actually happens because we're able to begin the combustion cycle at a much lower temperature.
Interesting.
So we keep the temperatures in line while lowering, both the NOx and the soot.
So one could deduce from that less regens, less plugging of the DPF filter, right on down the line, less soot buildup on sensors, less soot in your oil.
Exactly. EGRs are cleaner. Sure.
And I honestly, this is something I can attest to. I do not own an EGR truck, but I have a friend, he's in the chat here today, that I got started on this product, and right away he's like, I haven't regened this week. The truck isn't asking for a regen. So I can say I have some personal experience with that.
If you go to our YouTube site, we have a YouTube site, just put in Fuelox. There's we have 150 testimonials on there, but there's all kinds on there. But there's probably 15 or 20 of them that are all regen related.
Okay. Right. And let's just promote here again. With this video, you're going to get a 15% discount off your first order using the promo code DIY Semi. It's on the screen right now if you check it out and you're interested. So being that, okay, it affects the emission system, we can expect some improvement there. But also, as a byproduct, we're not even talking about the catalyst part of it, but as a byproduct of having less emissions problems, you're going to burn less DEF fluid. So save money there. What are people saying? Like a 20% reduction in DEF fluid that they're using?
We did a test with Metropolitan Trucking, and one of the things, they gave me the telematics on after the test to go through and analyze. And one of the things we weren't expecting to see, because frankly we've never tested before for DEF, because no one really pays attention to how much DEF they're putting in their truck.
Right.
At least the guys I talk to. And they just say, oh yeah, we go through a lot of it, but they don't keep track of exactly how much. Well, the telematics they gave me had everything on there. And what we found was that we cut their DEF usage down by about 20%.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. It was, and since then we now alert people to the fact that, as you're evaluating our product, let us know if if it's ticking these boxes. And many people come back to us and tell us, yeah, we're definitely using a lot less DEF.
Well, there's this saying, the law of unintended consequences, and I can see starting from there with the improvement in the emission system, it's kind of all the way down the line from your exhaust manifold to the tip of your tailpipe. That's less times you're going to clean your DPF filter, which is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Less soot and carbon buildup is less on your sensors. You're going to have a lot better luck with your sensors and your dozer injector. Those things get sooted up really bad. Lower exhaust temperatures. If your combustion temperature is lower, that should improve, if you have any exhaust manifold problems with cracking, or, I know on the older Detroits, you can have that problem. It's pretty common. Your turbo life. But you could really go all the way down the line, and it's kind of compounding an unintended consequence.
Absolutely.
And also, if your exhaust temperature is lower, that hot air that's going through your EGR and coming back around and going into the intake, that temperature should be lower. So you should really be kind of lowering temperatures all the way around the board here. Am I missing anything?
No, you're right. We don't lower them dramatically, but we do a few degrees here and there. Almost all our guys have reported to us, yeah, that I'm running a little bit cooler.
Okay.
Whether it's marine or over the road, that's pretty standard.
Okay. So if a guy's starting from zero, obviously if you have mechanical problems in your truck, something you pour in is not going to make you grow metal back. It's not going to make you grow bearing surface back. But if you're starting with a healthy engine and a moderate level of build up here and there, if a guy started today using like something like the OTR, how long before you could really kind of expect to see some kind of result?
Well, if you're you're going to see it almost immediately. Particularly if you've had your truck for a while and your truck and how it feels, you'll probably notice it first tank.
Okay.
It'll take a few. Generally speaking, it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 tanks to kind of wash everything out and clean out any messes that may be existing with sludge or anything that might be blocking anything in the system, breaking up some of the carbon, and varnish and so forth, but generally it takes no more than 1 to 3 tanks.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody just asked if pointed out too, less soot should be cleaner oil, better lubrication and oil drain intervals. And answer for Dominic would be no. That would be the product in the red, white, and blue bottle you're looking for to cure your herpes. He asked about that. Sorry, I had to address that right away. But okay, so go back to injectors. Somebody wanted to know, will it help clean? What does it do as far as injectors? Does it help anything there? Your fuel rail, what effect does it have on high pressure common fuel rail?
Let's put it this way. This test we did with 5 buses that are all locally running. So they're not getting out on the highway. They're not able to burn anything out. Okay. So they're the worst of the worst. Okay. They really are the dirtiest of the dirtiest.
Right.
Okay?
Stop and go traffic.
Stop and go and nothing over 30, 40 miles an hour. Okay. So these guys, we did 5 buses and the fuel efficiency ranged from 15% improvement to 89% improvement. Okay. Jeez. Now, 89% improvement, and this is what I told the company, is that we're not going to get you 89% improvement in your fuel. Okay. Right. It's not going to happen. Okay. Our fuel catalyst is good for somewhere in the 5%, 7% range. Okay. That's what we're going to get you. But in the meantime, we're going to clean everything out of there. And when you clean all the mess out, you clean the carbon off the injectors, the valves, you just clean up the whole system. You're going to see an improvement in efficiency. And that's what, and I told him, I said, 89%, I got to tell you, 80% of that was just cleaning that mess up. Okay. Because you had blockages all over the place. You had all kinds of carbon buildup. This engine was a mess. And of course they're ecstatic because they would never know that had they not gone through this exercise. So
something that kind of pops into my mind when you talk about carbon packing and carbon buildup, it can be a very dangerous thing. Like if you use a product that says, and maybe you have some thoughts on this, I don't know, but to use a product that says, I'm going to reduce your carbon packing, we're gonna eliminate all that and get rid of it, get it out of your engine. Well, I'd like to know kind of the process that goes by, because to use a product that says we're gonna just get rid of all the carbon packing. Well, if I have chunks of carbon packing start coming out of corners of the head or here and there, and a piece of that carbon packing lodges in, say, a valve or a valve seat, that can do destructive damage to that head. So, but is it dissolving it? Is it doing that thing where it's eliminating that hydrocarbon bunching? Like, is that where we're going back to once again?
That's a really good question. I wish I had the answer for you. Okay. All I can really tell you is that in the 7 years that we've been selling this product, I've never had someone come back to me with any kind of injector problems.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that it's dissolving it in a way that it's able to, just continually clean as it works
Okay.
without having any effect. But for me to tell you,
No,
I can't.
I'd rather have you tell me the truth than make something up. That's like, okay, we can probably get that. If we do this again sometime, maybe we get an engineer or something or somebody that can go into that kind of thing. So, everybody, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and share this video out so we can get this type of information out to more people. And Megan, it's kind of what this channel is bringing you better products and the real deal and actual numbers and proof rather than somebody paying me saying I want to give you $1,000 to come on your program today and talk about my product. It's not what happened here today. I asked these people to come on. Before that, even I had gotten this T-shirt for free, and I was asked to try out this tube of grease. That's what I got for free for doing this. So I'm not going to sell my soul for a tube of grease. I've been using these products. Thank you. I've been using these. I'm interested to try that, and we're going to talk about it. I've been using these products for more than 3 years. Let's get into, where people really get butt hurt, and we go to war, and we talk about fuel economy. Okay, what could we expect as far as fuel economy? I'll throw it out there. 3 years, I'm talking 6%. I've gained about 4/10, a little over 4/10, like 4.4. I'm not good with decimal places, but you know what I'm talking about. That comes out to about 6% for me. Real steady average. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to tell you something that other fuel additive companies will never tell you, and why they work. Okay, fuel additives work primarily because they will clean things out with detergents and add lubricity agents to keep everything lubricated, as well as stabilizing your fuel so your fuel doesn't go bad, and then the cetane improvers will help the combustion. Okay, so that is primarily what every conventional additive will do, and just by cleaning things out and with their detergents and adding lubricity, you're going to improve any engine you have. Okay? What we do is we do that, but we have our combustion catalyst that the rest of them don't have. Okay.
Really, the other products that don't have a catalyst should really have very minimal effect on the emission system. Is that the fair statement?
Yeah, I can tell you, we did it. We did a test last year that was run by Detroit Diesel in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it was done on a generator for Anglo American Mining. And what they told us, the guys who were running the test beforehand told us, is that we've done these tests for years, and we've never had any additive give us over 1% better fuel, because they're running it on a pristine engine in a laboratory setting. Okay, so when they ran our test, we actually got them almost 4% better fuel efficiency, and it blew them away. So those guys saw it, and that's our catalyst. That is 100% our catalyst. Now, when you go on the road here with an over-the-road truck or a piece of heavy equipment, you're going to have that combined with the aspect of cleaning everything out.
Okay.
That we talked about. So it's really a twofold equation.
So when people ask, I got this question posed to me in another live stream a couple weeks ago. What's the best fuel additive? What do you use? And kind of the standard answer, and this goes back to the percentage of fuel economy gain that you're talking about, is yes, you can gain 3% fuel economy on a product, but if you're saving $20 on that tank, but the product costs you $60, what did you really do? So we got talk about return on investment, and is it cost effective?
Right.
So that's where you have to know, okay, gallon of this to 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel, when the max mileage is a gallon of it to 3,000 gallons of diesel fuel. You have to weigh this out and see if there is that kind of return. Now, on most of your fuel additives, yes, fuel economy, you're going to get that. So, but on top of that, if you're getting emissions benefits and benefits to your emission system, there's a big price to be put on that, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Do you agree?
Well, so yeah, absolutely. So let's do the math real quick.
Yeah.
I just drove back from Georgia yesterday. Okay, and I paid anything from, I think it was $2.20 a gallon in Virginia, and it was like $3.20 a gallon in Pennsylvania. Okay, so you take $2.50 as an average price. Okay, at $2.50 a gallon, if I can save you 5%, okay, of $2.50, okay, that's 12.5 cents a gallon, right?
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Right. I'm glad you're doing this math, because my math skills are horrible.
No worries. No
right
worries. So right now, this bottle with the 15% discount, I think works out to about 5 cents a gallon. Okay. So at
you're saving 3 times
gallon,
the cost of the product, basically.
versus the 12.5%. Plus, you get the added bonus of what you just said, which is cleaning everything cleaner. Emissions issues are going to be lessened dramatically. Those are all. That's all icing on the cake.
Right.
And in fact, that's kind of how we built our business. Is we taught people that try our product, watch how it pays for itself just in the fuel efficiency, and then all the rest of it is gravy.
Right. Yeah, and I encourage people. You mentioned it. Don't take my word for it. I certainly don't take my word for it. I'm just trying to bring you the information. Try it and find out for yourself. Make your own decision, and then go from there. Don't even take Rand's word for it. Try them out, test them. You know what? I encourage you to test out their customer service. I've done that. You don't know I did that, Rand, but I've done it, and they answer the phone, and when there's a problem, it gets taken care of immediately. I'm big on customer service. I am tired of calling somebody and having somebody pick up halfway across the world that can't help me with my problem. I'm tired of that. And you guys are out of what, New Jersey, right?
We are. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, family-run business, small operation, very, very attentive to our customers.
Okay. All right. Now, along those lines again, why are other additives so expensive?
A couple things. Number one is they have much bigger operations to pay for, bigger infrastructure of people to pay for than we do.
Sponsoring football stadiums?
Pardon me?
Sponsoring football stadiums is expensive?
Yeah, exactly. That and that huge advertising costs. Also, we our products are, there's shipping is not a huge issue for us because our stuff's so concentrated. So when they're shipping stuff all over the country with huge volumes, there's a much bigger cost to that as well.
Right. Yeah. About a winter supply of the antigel, the box is much bigger than a shoebox. So you can carry that year's supply right in your cab with you, and it's not I keep it in an ammo box. I keep an ammo box with that in it, and that's basically the whole year right there.
Yeah, those little guys come in boxes. The cases of 25.
Okay.
And they're literally that big,
Right. Okay. What's the shelf life on something like this, and what does it do anything to the shelf life of the fuel? Kind of like a what's the red stuff? Stable.
Yeah, you actually, if you have our stuff in your fuel and your diesel fuel, that fuel should be good for 2 years. That's what we tell people, that you can store fuel for up to 2 years easily with our FuelOx product. And the product itself, if you don't open it, it's got probably a 5-year shelf life.
Oh, good, because I have a bunch left from last year that I didn't use, and I was wondering about that for myself. Okay, so we talked about emissions. What about, how does it affect in a non-emissions truck? A lot of us run older trucks or glider kits, older engines. Are we just eliminating the emissions part of it and only getting the fuel system part of it? Or,
well, you're still getting all the benefits of better combustion and better fuel efficiency. But what you're also getting, you got to remember, those older trucks, they weren't made for today's diesel.
Right.
So those older trucks, they really need the lubricity. So we add a lot of lubricity in there particularly, in general, because it's a great idea. but the older trucks in particular really love that.
So the older trucks, when thinking in my mind, I run a pre-emissions Detroit Series 60, and you mentioned with the lubricity, the sulfur is gone. So theoretically, I wouldn't want something with a bunch of fillers because, like you said, ethylene glycol is going to be drier yet. And I'm kind of going the opposite direction. It says improve lubricity, but I might actually be going the opposite
Well,
direction and decreasing lubricity.
they probably put lubricity additives in there
Okay.
to make up for that. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that pretty much most additives out there have some sort of lubricity additive in there.
Okay. Just as far as your company, what are some of the challenges you're facing being a small company in this additive industry? What's cooking in the future for you? Are you in the process of getting in any truck stops or any place that truckers hang out or buy stuff?
Yeah, first of all, we're our growth is just sometimes it's a little difficult to deal with because it's all over the place. For instance, we're not just over the road truckers. We do a lot of heavy equipment. We do mining. We have tugboats. Commercial marine. I mean, we're in where we support, as of this year, we support 5 different continents now.
Wow.
I have salespeople on these other areas. It's crazy. It's a little bit crazy right now. But our biggest thing is, yeah, we are concentrated on the retail side. We've never been concentrated on the retail side really till this year. West Marine carries our products in a number of their stores. But now we're starting to talk to a number of other national retailers, which I can't really talk about names right now. But the truth is that we're right there with a couple of real big ones. We are talking to. We're supposed to be talking to one of the largest truck stop companies in the next month or two. The connections have all been set up. They're very interested in our 3-ounce product.
Okay.
So yeah, that's an area we're really getting involved in. In fact, I just hired someone, Paul Mazzanoble, to be the president of the company about a month and a half ago. And one of his directives is to start to build out the retail side of our business.
Excellent. So we could kind of maybe start to expect to see things in the future in front of our faces.
If things go the way I think they will, I think you will.
Yeah, excellent. Something I skipped over and I didn't intend to was asphaltene. That's a kind of a hot topic in industry, especially in the summer times. Every time somebody sees something black in their fuel, they assume it's asphaltene or algae. It can be other carbon products too. But do you have an asphaltene product? How does it work?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah, we do. It's this is our Fuelox asphaltene, and it works very, very similar to the way our regular Fuelox works. The only difference is that we've loaded it up with a few extra products that will keep the asphaltenes from forming, and any of the asphaltenes that have already formed will help break them apart. Okay. As most guys, there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding about asphaltenes themselves and what they are and so forth. They're really nothing more than tiny pieces of tar. And with these high pressure fuel injector systems where they're running the fuel through at over 30,000 psi, and getting it over 200 degrees, that when it returns, a lot of times it'll have these little tiny specks of basically cooked fuel or tar, which are asphaltenes. And even though they're 2 or 3 microns in size, when they get on your filter and they start to bunch up, they can close up a 5 or 10 micron size filter pretty quickly. So
yeah, I imagine that must be a product of the low sulfur diesel, because I don't remember even hearing about that much before they switched over to ultra low sulfur.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the funny thing about it is that no one seems to really figure out where the heck these things are coming from or why. Yeah, all we know is that no one ever heard of them before the low sulfur diesel. But clearly there is a connection there.
Be refining process or something too.
Yeah, yeah. But yet, if you have a fleet of 500 trucks, you may only have the problem in 5 trucks or 10 trucks. and
Really?
and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason as to which trucks they're going to be in.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things that does pop up, and you got to recognize it right away. Otherwise, you're going to go through some filter issues. So
Right. Something I just saw a question in the comments a little bit ago. Is there any relation or effect that the OTR or any of the other products would have on friction in an engine, as
well,
far
it's
as
going
reducing
to
friction?
yeah, it's definitely going to reduce friction. I mean, it has lubricity agents in there designed just to do that.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we lower your lubricity, or excuse me, we raise your lubricity about 30%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let me just scroll through some comments here and see if. Yeah, somebody said it's the organic matter material that carries the water. That's true. Um, Now, somebody said about putting some 93 octane in there to wipe out moisture. I'm assuming they're talking about gasoline. That's something we haven't really talked about. Is octane going to help kind of get rid of water in gasoline?
I have never heard that, but
Okay.
I don't know anybody. I've never known anybody that's done that, and I don't see how that's going to get rid of the water. I mean, the water is there. It's going to go one. It's either going to be emulsified and burned and run through your injectors, where you run some risk, I think, of pitting and fouling, or it's going to go to the separators or the bottom of the tank.
Right. So we're looking. It's kind of a fine differential between the two words emulsify and demulsify.
Correct.
What you want is a demulsifier to carry.
Well, what's interesting is that with all our combustion engine products, we're a de-emulsifier. Right, a demulsifier. Okay. With our heating oil product, that's the only product we have that's an emulsifier, because because most people have 275 gallon tanks of heating oil, and you want to get the water out of it.
Right.
And it's being burned in a boiler situation as opposed to a combustion. So you don't have the problems that you're going to have, in burn.
Okay. Somebody asked, can they use this on a C15 cat? I would believe you can. Is there any engines that you would not want to use? Talk about trucking in general, diesel engines, anything you don't want to use it. And obviously, do not put it in your DEF tank, right?
Yeah, please don't put it in your DEF tank.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly though, I don't. I just say that. I'm assuming that it would not be good for it, but I don't know anybody that's done it, and I don't suggest it, obviously. So
Interesting thought would be to develop a DEF product that keeps it from crystallizing. Is anybody looking into that product?
That's a good question. That is a really good question.
There's a moneymaker for you.
Yeah.
I'll only charge 20% for that idea.
Okay, thanks.
Will overdose hurt an engine?
No, you can't overdose this product.
Okay. It's not gonna. Yeah, it wouldn't flash or anything because it lowers the combustion temperature.
So there's a lot of additives out there that if you put too much in, it will hurt your engine. Okay.
Okay.
Ours is not one of them. There's nothing in there. You could put tons of it in. It won't hurt anything. You will waste a lot of money though.
Okay. Does it help increase cetane at all? Is there any cetane boosters in any of your products?
No, we do not boost the cetane. We improve the combustion.
Okay.
And that's what cetane boosters do. Okay. If you have the higher your cetane rating, the better your combustion is. But we improve the combustion far beyond any cetane booster is going to do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Andy's World wanted to know, do the bottles have droppers for precise dosing? No, not really. It's just a pour. You can see into the bottle, pour half in one tank, half into another. It's really.
But for the guys, but Adam, for the guys that do want it, if you look, we have it. This is a 16-ounce bottle, and this up here, this compartment here is 1 ounce, treats 80 gallons. Okay, it has a mark halfway up for 40 gallons, and we also sell an 8-ounce bottle too, which is half the size of this. So you can if you rather have something like this, you can do that. It just so happens that the bottles, that Adam was talking about, the 3-ounce bottles are actually, they're made for OTR. They're made for the guys because 120 gallons is the standard amount of fuel that most guys put in.
Average fill up.
The average fill up. That's what it's designed for. But we do have something like this that you can measure with if you want.
Okay. Victor wants to know, do you have an engine oil additive?
Actually, it's a really good question, Victor. We will have one by the end of 2020. What's that? 2 weeks?
Really?
Yeah, it's actually on its way. I can show you the bottle without a label, because the labels. When will the labels be here, Jessica?
Probably next week.
Next week. So that's an 8-ounce bottle. It's designed. Are we ready to get into these lube things now, Adam?
Hey, we're ready.
Okay, so we're bringing a lube line. That's going to be the concentrated a liquid that I just showed you the bottle of. We also have a grease, and also we're going to have a lubricating penetrating spray. And all of them are designed with the same product, around the same product. We have a product. I have been looking for a lube for 5 years that is something similar to ours, to Fuel-Ox, as far as quality goes and impact. And we finally found something that we are ridiculously excited about, because it's a 100% natural product. There's no harsh chemicals in it. It is also, and what it does is it's a metal conditioner that changes the metal itself. Once it gets over 100 degrees, it activates where any metal it's in contact with. It will smooth it out. It'll take care of it will get rid of the burrs. It'll take care of the peaks and the valleys, and it'll smooth out the metal. And as it gets a little hotter, it will actually make it harder. So what
Is
this
that-
means? What's that?
Same principle. Is that the same principle as the grease?
Exactly. Yep. It's the same principle for all three of those products. Okay. The only difference is what you use them in. Okay. That grease right there, I was just meeting with. That's why I was in Georgia. I was meeting with one of the locations that had been using that grease for 10 years, and I wanted to see firsthand how it was working. And the gentleman who uses that says, I will never use any other grease. And that grease there, I used to have to grease the bearings on his conveyor belts. And it's a large landscaping supply company, huge. And the conveyor belts where they do all the potting soil and everything. He says, I used to have to grease the bearings once a day. And now he says, I literally grease them once a month with this product.
Now
So,
I gotta hold your feet to the fire a little bit.
Yep.
This is one of your more expensive products.
Yes, it is.
It's worth it. Okay. Number one, can you justify that extra cost? And number two, can we expect in the future, when this gets more, mass produced, that possibly the price will come down some? Because it is quite expensive. I'll just, from an owner operator's perspective, we're honest here. I'm not throwing you softball questions all day. So go ahead.
No, that's fair. That right now, the price point on that is $40, and the reason why is because, as I said, guys that are using it, we're using it once a day. Now they're using it once a month.
Okay.
So now they're using it 20 times less. But the big thing is their bearings and their pieces of equipment that they're using it on are not failing, and they're lasting. Okay. I mean, I spoke with a gentleman in Kokomo, Indiana, at the Chrysler transmission plant there, and they had a piece of equipment there, gearbox, that they treated with the liquid that I just showed you, and they were rebuilding the gearbox once a month.
Okay.
And they put this in 5 years ago, one time, and they haven't rebuilt the gearbox or changed the oil in 5 years.
I'll be honest, that's hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. I have tons of these that we've done our homework on, and we're really excited about this.
Safe to use in a high-speed application like a U-joint. Will it fling out? So any moving part?
No, it's great. What happens is that even after it may be gone, because it's treated the metal. The metal itself will withstand a tremendous amount of friction and heat before it fails.
Okay. So, I'm gonna give it an honest try. I can't speak for any results for it. I have not tried it. I'm just being 100% transparent on that, I have not tried that yet. I just got it last week.
That's all we ask. That's all we
Okay.
ask. So it'll come in those 3 forms. So we'll give you more information as we get there.
Okay, perfect. All right. Do you mind asking a few questions here? Is that,
Oh, go
is that
ahead.
okay?
Great.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Great question here from Andy's World. How would the lower combustion point affect the 7th injector's job of burning exhaust gases past the turbo? 7th injector is that dozer injector we were talking about. Any thoughts on that?
You know what? I wish I could give you a technical answer, and I
Okay.
can't. And I can't. All I can tell you is that we've had zero issues, zero complaints about anything having to do with any of the emission systems, other than the fact that we reduced the regens and we reduced the the most of the emissions issues.
Okay. Logically,
Andy, I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't.
Most of the problems with your 7th injector come from carbon buildup over the tip and soot buildup. And if we're reducing that buildup over the tip of that injector, that should solve a lot of issues.
Right on.
As far as keeping that thing clean and doing its job. So I have a gentleman here that said that he had an emissions truck that he deleted the emissions on, and he always had a little bit of black smoke at idle. And he says when he tried to, this is one of the gentlemen that I turned it on to, when he started using the fuel ox, that black smoke at idle kind of cleared up. Is that again more of a complete combustion? Is what's doing that?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay. And also somebody pointed out too, Andy, again, that possibly less effort on behalf of the cooling system if you're running lower temperatures also.
He's probably right. Yeah.
Okay. Just scrolling for some more questions here. Are there compatibility problems? Are there any compatibility problems with? They want to know with the grease in particular, but any of your products really?
No, we have no. We've never had any issues with working with any other additives or greases. Right, the grease itself, no. There's, as far as I can tell, once you work out the old grease, and ours gets in there. In the meantime, that time in between, no, there's no issues.
Okay, and then for my own personal knowledge, I understand you can't let the cat out of the bag with everything. More like a lithium complex or more like an aluminum complex grease?
Well, that's the calcium, right? I believe that's the calcium complex.
How do I know? It's the Infinity Lube SG.
We make a calcium complex and a lithium complex.
Okay.
Okay. So
it says calcium right here.
Yeah, that basically all that is. We went with the calcium because the calcium's better in wet weather. So the wetter it is, the better. It stays in place better.
Okay.
The downside is that you don't get quite the protection in the super low temperatures that you would get with lithium. To keep it pumpable. But in the meantime, that's not really an issue. I literally just got a response back from Russia 2 days ago that we blew some Finnish from Finland, lube away, grease away that they'd been using forever, and it was 20 below. So
I've never been happy with a lithium grease as far for the truck because number one, you use a lithium complex grease in your U joints, that stuff flings out like really quick.
But I would be really interested to hear how this works out for you.
Okay, I will definitely let you know. And somebody wants to know, have you ever heard of a project called Energy Release? Is your product anything like that, your oil additive?
No, I have never heard of it.
Okay.
All right. Look it up.
Any of your products have any effect on glazing of cylinders? Possibly from glazing would be from overheating or fuel washing, possibly? I'm not sure.
No, we've never had an issue. I've never heard of an issue with glazing.
Okay. All right. Also something I thought of too, if you're getting more complete combustion, that's less residual fuel left. You should have less blow by and less potential of, fuel dissolves oil, so less fuel washing in your cylinders. So I could see, the more I think about it, you know, being that it does cause more complete combustion at lower temperatures, I can see a lot of residual benefits along the way. Um, Even some things that I never really thought of before until we had this conversation. Um, any thoughts on that, or anything
Well,
you
we
want to
had,
add to anything?
yeah, absolutely. We had one of the early tests we did was with McAllister's Towing, a big tugboat company in the United States. And one of the tests they did was one on their generator. They had a generator, a genset that they had these catch boxes to get the blow by. And after they started using our product, the engineer called me and said, he goes, I don't get it. He goes, there's nothing in the catch boxes.
Hmm.
Oh, to your point,
Blow by,
yeah, that's a big thing that we do.
Interesting. I would think the EPA would be really interested in stuff like that. They're always coming down hard on, and now too, as far as blow by, like they go into a scale. If you get, I've heard of guys having 1 drop of oil come out their blow by tube while they're sitting there for inspection and getting dinged for an oil leak. Kind of ridiculous.
Wow.
So the standard that we're held to anymore is just higher and higher. And I would think, are you familiar with the EPA SmartWay program for motor carriers? And
I've heard of it. I don't know what's the specific.
I would look into that, and if you can document all of these things through your testing, and of course you've done that, I would approach them about becoming an EPA SmartWay certified product.
Right.
I'm an EPA SmartWay certified carrier. It's based on fuel mileage and emissions, and they should be interested in something like this and promote it on their SmartWay program. That would be a pretty good niche for somebody to get into.
We'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. One more. I'll throw one last one. I hear you too. We've been going for a little over an hour, and I do appreciate that. Breaking in an engine with the oil additive, some of them say don't do it. Use the oil additive till your engine's broke in, so you can make sure you seat those rings. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, my suggestion is go ahead and break it in, seat those rings before you treat anything.
Okay, but no effect as far as with the fuel fuel additives.
No, it's not going to have an effect on it. But I think you're better off, getting those rings seated well before you really start to adjust anything else.
Okay, well you have the trucking industry's attention right now. Trying to break you into this industry a little bit more. Is there anything you want to leave people with, or anything you want to say?
Just that, hey, listen, we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. Our big thing is that we do not have a huge budget for advertising, and stuff like this is really how we built the company. And the word of mouth, the grassroots, and hopefully we will always uphold it on our side with our customer service and our great products. And all I can say is thank you very much to everybody who's here, as well as Adam, of course, for putting this together.
Can you give out your contact information once again, website, telephone number?
Yeah, it's fuelox.com. It's fuelox.com at www.fuelox.com. The best number to get us on is 908-747-2720. But we also have an 800 number. That's, if you go to our website, it's all there. And you can reach me anytime you want at that number. I'll be happy to talk to you if you want, but in the meantime, we're a tight knit group here, and we're all focused on making you guys happy,
Yeah, and if you find something you're interested, a product you're interested, make sure you put that promo code in there, get 15% off your first order. They wanted to do that today to show their appreciation for the industry. Use promo code DIY Semi, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. And can you just stay on the line here for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right, everybody, take it easy. Make sure you share this video out, hit that like button, subscribe, and we will see you next video.